From sunny Southern California, this is the Executive Housekeeper 101 from HousekeepingRehab.com. Here now is your Executive Housekeeper, Abel Josephson.
And you are back. Why do they call a bellman a bellman? Because in the old days when you didn't have a radio, housekeeping to front desk, housekeeping to bellman, they would just ring the bell, and then the bellman was listening for the bell, and then they would come around the corner, just because they are bellmen. Little hotel history for you there. Believe it or not, the bell at the front desk is not an instrument used as an alarm clock to wake up the night auditor. Hello? Is there anybody here? 3 a.m. Okay, you're back. The Executive Housekeeper 101. I do stuff that is designed for people who want to move up from supervisor to executive housekeeper. Somebody who is at the front desk who wants to learn about housekeeping. Somebody who is brand new, who has earned the position of executive housekeeper and just needs a starting point. I give you a way so you have a way, and then after you work your way, you can massage it and make it more of your way. I received a question about how supervisors handle themselves because they're a middleman. A supervisor is a middleman. Here is your executive housekeeper, here's a supervisor, here is your staff. Today I'm going to talk about room attendants and how they supervise them specifically, because by and large, for the most part, a supervisor is up there on the floors dealing face to face with the room attendants, and then they also give instructions to housemen, laundry, and these others. And what I'm going to tell you pertains to all of that, of course, but specifically room attendants. Remember, many supervisors came up through the ranks. They were a houseman maybe, then they were working in the laundry, then they went to room attendant, and they have outgrown all those positions. Remember, don't go until you outgrow. They have outgrown them, right? To where as an individual, before they ever become a supervisor, they're able to do everything. They know how long it takes. They know the materials they need to use to do those jobs. They understand how to use the tools. They understand how much time it takes, all these things. So here we go. So a lot of people have asked me, how do you train supervisors? How do you tell them what to do? And I addressed that in the previous video, which you can see by going to this little click thing up here. Many executive housekeepers do not train properly, and they don't train people in the right order. For example, I'm going to share with you, how do you train a supervisor? You train the staff first. You train them about the role of the supervisor. You don't go and tell the supervisor, this is how you do it, and this is what I expect of you, and this is what you're supposed to accomplish, and here are your procedures, when the people that they are supervising have never been told what the supervisor's job is, what their duties are, what your expectations as an executive housekeeper are for the supervisor. They don't know what the job is, so when the staff doesn't know what you want from your supervisors, they don't know how to fall in underneath the supervisor. So if the staff doesn't know what you want from your supervisors, they will decide, or they will guess, or they will assume, or they will act with the supervisors how they acted before you got there and became the new executive housekeeper. That's where the problems lie. Staffing doesn't know what you told the supervisors about what their role is. Real simple. So we're going to first train the staff about what a supervisor is, about what your expectation is, about the authority that you have given them, and the authority they do not have. The staff needs to know what the job description is for the supervisor. Read it to them. Have them sign a document. Have them sign a copy of this is good advice. Have your staff sign off on a copy of the job description of the supervisor. That's their first write-up, their first written documentation. It goes into their file. Meep. So they can never say, I don't know they can do this, or, right? A lot of times staff thinks that a supervisor has this job or that job, and you expect them to do that when you do not. Or the executive housekeeper before you told them to do this and do that, not to do this, not to do that. So the staff is operating off of old job descriptions. Make sure your staff knows the job description. Give them the same job description you give the supervisors. Have them sign off on it. Put it in everybody's file so everybody's clear. Communication. Sometimes staff thinks, I do this, but the supervisor finishes it. Make it very clear. Supervisors inspect, that's all they do. We do not finish. Supervisors do not finish. Sometimes supervisors go in and they notice in a room or with a houseman with a job or organizing something, hey, they missed this, tweak, change, fix. Okay, that's normal. That's just making a contribution. That's just help. But the supervisors don't do your job at all. All right, let's talk about that. Do you want a hostage crisis in your department where employees control what you do and control what the supervisors do? All you got to do is have a situation to where like for example, if a housekeeper calls in and says, I cannot work. Well, we're short staffed now. Well, supervisors, I need you to clean room. Oh, no, 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 never. Never, if avoidable, never. If you call off, people with that job description do your job. So if 2 people call off and we're short 2 people in rooms, the rest of the employees that clean rooms do the extra rooms. Yes, but overtime. Well, no problem overtime. I have 16 hours of pay that would have gone to those 2 housekeepers. That pays for your overtime. So you'll end up with extra money when you have call-offs, but you'll cover it. If you have somebody that doesn't like a supervisor, they will do this sometimes, call off just to make that lady do the rooms. It's rude, it's discouraging, it's just ugliness. I don't allow it. If you call off, people of that same job description do those jobs, not supervisor and never executive housekeepers. I have to tell companies, I do not clean rooms. I can make a bed, not very fast, but I can get a job done. But I don't do it because it erodes my authority and it makes me be in a position where I can be abused by people just by calling off. If a supervisor is doing rooms, then I have to supervise. But I had meetings for, financials today, and I had revenue meetings today, and I had sales meetings today. I can't do my job if I'm doing your job. So people who do that job, if you call off the next day, you face your peers, not me. The peers can influence your employees faster than a manager. You watch. It works. I don't do the supervisor's job. Supervisor doesn't do the housekeeper's job. It's pure, and it's in the job description. In the job description of room attendant. In the case of short staffing, you will pick up the extra rooms. You put it in writing, and they agree to it. Once they agree to it and sign off, your problems are pretty much over. Managers and supervisors do not run the housekeeping department. We don't manage it. The employee handbook and written standard operating procedures are the managers. Now, if a supervisor tells them to do something and they don't do it, supervisor's not the enforcer. They just advise them to do it. I am the enforcer at all times. I think we talked about that in this good stuff. Something that will help you in understanding the supervisor. Just look at the word supervisor, not manager, supervisor. The word supervisor comes from the Latin word superiora advisor. Superiora means superior. Advisor means advisor. They are an advisor. We are advising you that when you finish early, you mark down what time you finished and you come and report to a supervisor. The supervisor will then advise you either to go home or advise you to go to other work that we have for you. Superiora advisor, a superior advisor. They give advice. And when you change your understanding of what a supervisor does, that they are an advisor and not a manager, you solve a lot of problems. The supervisor must have a job description. So you will sit your staff down and you will go over the job description of the supervisor. So they know very well and very clear what the supervisor does or does not do. You must train the staff, right? They may tell you to turn off your program, clock out and go home. They may advise you to go home. They will do that under my direction. They give advice. They advise them. Changes in the day. We will advise you when it's time to do this, or when we need to hurry, they will advise you, right? Superior advice. All right, that being said, let me say this. Supervisors, whether it's front desk or housekeeping, supervisors, really, and manager, need to understand this. Fill the gap. Look and see where help is needed. Provide help where help is needed that the room attendant is not able to do for themselves, that the houseman is not able to do for themselves. You have a houseman stripping rooms to help move things along because the houseman has time. Let's strip those dirty rooms. Let's get the dirty linen and terry out. Let's pull the trash. That saves time for a housekeeper if they're doing extra rooms, right? But fill the gap. Houseman is stripping the room. Run get some towels to help, to fill the gap. All right, if you'll strip those 3 rooms, I'll run those towels up from the laundry. You're not doing his job, you're filling the gap. Filling the gap. As a manager, I'm trying to find out, what obstacles do you have? I've given instructions. What is in the way of you accomplishing what I have for you? I need to remove obstacles. I need to fix things to where you have time, right, to do extra stuff that's needful, in a situation that requires it. I'm always removing obstacles. What can I do to make it go faster, right? Instead of just telling people, do it faster, do it faster, do it faster, do it better, do it better. What can I do to make it happen faster and to flow better, be more productive? Supervisor can fill the gap, always looking, where can I make a contribution? That'll help you. They don't just walk around with a clipboard and inspect. They do other things. But they don't do things that one is capable of doing or is irresponsible and didn't do or won't do. Let me give you a little bit of advice. One time somebody came to me and they said, they were upset with me and they said, you don't do anything. We do all the work, right? You sit in your office all day. No, I don't sit in my office all day, but since you bring this up, let me make it very clear to you. The supervisor is the same as the executive housekeeper in this one way. We don't get paid for what we do at a certain point. We get paid for what we know. The supervisor's constantly running reports. What rooms are still dirty? Where do we need to go to get the work done? They are bringing the knowledge to the doers of the work. They're advising them. Same thing with me. I get paid for what I know, not what I do. To be honest with you, I make every single bed in the house. Why? I hire you, I train you, I have somebody advise you, I provide you the tools. Who made the beds? I did in concept, you did it physically or in reality. But we get paid for what we know. And supervisors are not to be abused. They're up there to dispense information, not to do because you're slow or because you called off. The staff needs to understand that a supervisor is not a manager. And if you want to do your supervisors a favor, do not give them manager authority because it takes that burden off of them. It takes away the misunderstandings that staff has. You are not a manager. Most of your supervisors struggle because they think, I'm supposed to be treated like a manager when they are not managers. You see? That removes the stress. Let me talk about loyalty. I've had the problem. You're going to have the problem somewhere if you haven't had it already. And this is the problem. This supervisor, for whatever reason, when they were a room attendant, had some really good friends in the department. And when the supervisor, he or she, became a supervisor, the supervisor started giving some favor to these 4 or 5 and started, kind of crapping on these over here. You better find out what's going on up there. And you be very intuitive, be very in tune with the complaints of the people when they come and say she'll provide them with everything, but she takes from my cart and gives it to them, and then I have to go to my closet to get my things. You better find out about that. Remember, every department has an informant. Find the informant. So you have people that are loyal to the supervisor, and the supervisor is loyal to them. The supervisor will protect them and lie for them if they don't do what they're supposed to do. Supervisor will blame it on somebody else. That's just a get to know your people and understand your people kind of thing. If you have continual ongoing problems with that, you can take a supervisor and disconnect them from supervising certain people in your staff. Put these people that are her buddies, separate them around the building, and keep that supervisor from overseeing them, and then see what happens. Test it. You just change the schedule. You just change the room sections, which is your power to do it, and do it regularly. Every 6 months, we change sections. That's how it is. So it's a good time to make changes. Let's put these 3 up there and let's give them a new supervisor on a daily basis, and let's learn from that. Again, I'm going to go back to backing up the supervisor. If a supervisor gives advice, gives superior advice to an employee, and it's wrong, you would not have them do that, but they did. What do? You back them up. You back them up. You back them up, and you back them up in the presence of the employee. You bring them in. Okay, we had a problem yesterday with an opportunity and a challenge. It's because the supervisor instructed you to do that, and they were right to do that. They made the best decision. But in the future, let's all agree to do this. And it's okay to have everybody there. Never correct a supervisor in front of an employee. We're going to sit down and we're going to agree together. Next time, let's do this. So supervisor, if we have this again, my suggestion is do it this way, and let's do it that way. And if supervisor tells you that, go ahead and do it. And I think we can all, as a group, avoid that problem. But I'm going to tell you, the supervisor told you to do something, and she was right to tell you based on the information she had, and I back her up. Now let's all agree to do something. Let's learn together as a group what we'll do next time. But never sit there with an employee and tell a supervisor, you did that wrong. Can't do that. She's right. Oh, it's psychological. Oh no. Oh no. Learn when to divide and conquer. Learn when to talk about a problem together. Learn when to separate. But in front of your people, the final law west of the Mississippi is this. If a supervisor tells you to do it, do it. If you have a problem, come see me. But do it first. If you don't do it, you have a problem with me. So they know that how things are handled and what the order of authority is. Good advice, superior advice. All right, I know we're running kind of long, but I want to hit one more thing. Helping the supervisor. Supervisors in my department have a lot of pressure to make sure those occupied rooms are given the proper service, right? It's very important to me. While the guest is there spending the money, it's totally opposite of how most hotels do it, because there's this culture of anything we can do to cut corners and save money and save time, because they're poorly organized and they can't finish on time. So they don't bother checking occupied rooms. Where do the complaints come from? Occupied rooms. Change your program. All right, so let's talk about room attendants. The supervisor tells them to do something, but the room attendants don't understand what the role of the supervisor is because you didn't train them. The supervisor is a go-between. I tell the supervisor this is what I want. Supervisor's role is to go and execute what I want. That's it. Well, what if we say to a staff member, do this, do that. Don't do this, don't do that. And the staff person, the employee, does not comply. Supervisor does not come in and threaten and put the finger out, you better or you will write you up. No. Supervisor is just communication. I communicate to you what my manager has told to me to communicate to you. And the expectation is that you do it. What happens if they just blow the supervisor off? Or they say, okay, we'll do that. Thank you, bye-bye. And then they don't get the job done. What does the supervisor do? Supervisor comes to executive housekeeper. I gave these specific instructions. If the supervisor is on their game, they wrote down what time they told them. So when we're fixing a problem because something didn't get done, we know what time they were told. The supervisor simply reports to the executive housekeeper, I gave this instruction, it did not get done. And then you must now go and back up the authority and the decision and the direction that you gave the supervisor. You bring the person in. I instructed my supervisor to give you an instruction and you didn't get the job done. Can you tell me why? Did you have obstacles? Be on their side. Was there something I missed? Did I not understand where you were or what you were doing? Did I miss something? Is there something I don't know? Be on their side. Don't just line them up and shoot them. You know what I'm saying? Find out why, but explain to them, if the supervisor is talking to you, I am talking to you. The supervisor is a communication tool, a middleman to relay information. So if you are told to do something by the supervisor, do it. If you have a problem with that, you may come to me. But I'm telling you, I will back them up first. Now, what if the supervisor tells them something and it is not the right thing to do? You back up the supervisor and you tell the employee, they told you to do that, and if they tell you to do that, do that. Do it, do it, do it, follow instructions. If you have a problem with those instructions, come to me later and explain to me what the issue is. But until I say something different, you follow that supervisor. You want a problem in your department? You want your supervisors to join a hostage crisis and team up and become a union boss in the department? You don't back up your supervisors. You want them to start lying in your department and doing things and having problems and that sort of thing? Don't back up your supervisor. You will open up plenty of that. Back up your supervisor even if they said the wrong thing. And you tell your people, if they give you an instruction, do it. If it's not the right thing, I will correct it later. But if you don't do what they ask you to do, you will be having a problem with me. I do not have time for all these games with communication. We have to close the house by a certain time during the day. And you will be told things by a supervisor that we may not do normally. But if they tell you, you do it. And if you do that, and if what they told you was wrong, you will not be held accountable. I will understand. But I want my supervisors backed up 100% at all times. If they do something or are told something and they don't do it, you bring in the person that was instructed and you bring in their supervisor. Supervisors are always in on these conversations. And if you need to correct a supervisor, you do not do it in that meeting. That meeting is for the employee. Aside from that meeting, you have a different kind of conversation with the supervisors. You back them up 100%. And then with the supervisor, you sit down and you explain, next time, let's do it this way. Next time, come check with me. Next time, look at this, look at that. Remember this obstacle they have. Remove that situation, then tell them to do it. Always going forward in our conversations about how we will improve next time. I don't spank for last time unless you have just flat out ignored all of the next time we do it this way conversations, right? The supervisor doesn't need to tell the employee, the manager came and told me to tell you. You need to train them how to talk to people. He told me to tell you. No. You take accountability for your advisory role. You're giving superior advice. Oh, this is another thing. When you give instructions, when supervisors give instructions, teach them. Give the instruction and then say, verbalize back to me what the instruction is. It helps them understand when their ears hear their mouth say to their ears. It also lets you hear what they heard. People sometimes get confused. Some people are nervous about you. They're intimidated about you, right? So you want to be the kind of person that has them say back to you what you said to them so you can correct it right there. You got it. No problem. Thank you. And thanks for, letting me know how I came across. Sometimes I'm hurried. Sometimes I might be frustrated by something in the office and I forget to tell you something. And when I don't hear you tell me back, I will know, one more thing I forgot, right? And then high five, fist bump, whatever you do. Thumbs up. There you go. A little more on the supervision. Thank you for the questions and comments on the YouTube. I guess that's everything. That's enough. Okay, let's go.
The hotel and hospitality industry is a type of entertainment and a form of show business. Thanks for visiting the Executive Housekeeper 101 with Abel Josephson from housekeepingrehab.com.